All right, welcome back, guys. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and help it grow. Thank you very much. So the last time we checked here, we saw that we cannot override a final method. Cannot override final method. Okay. So now let's kick things a notch and do something else. Okay, so I'm going to remove all this here and create this other class here. Okay, delete everything from there, remove that. So all I have is an instance of that. Okay, so what we want to talk about are abstract classes. Abstract classes and functions. So what is an abstract class? Now, an abstract class is a class that is not intended to be instantiated. So for example, the way we have here, we have class database, and then we have class product that extends database here, right? Now, if, for example, we will never have to instantiate this database class itself, because the way the things are right now, it's possible to make an instance of just database alone, or we can make an instance of product to get from database. Okay. Now, if we never want to be able to instantiate database, what we would do is change this to an abstract class. So to do that, of course, you just type the word abstract class there, and then you are good to go. Okay. So now what's the beauty of why use an abstract class? Well, this class right here will never be instantiated. That's number one. Its only job is to be extended by others. So it works as a blueprint or as an example of what needs to be done here. And it kind of creates something like a contract of some kind, because all the functions you put in here, not all of them, some of them, all the functions that you put in here will have to be implemented here. So you are giving the programmer that comes to extend your class, you are giving them the job of implementing the classes, each method, sorry, that they get from here. So let's look at a few examples first of all. Now, before we begin, we'll look at trying to instantiate this. So let me try and do that. So I'm just going to copy this and put it there. So I'll say A is equal to new database. So I want to instantiate the abstract class, and of course I will get an error which says cannot instantiate abstract class. So like I said, you can't instantiate this class, but I can instantiate product, which extends this class. So let's see that in action. Refresh, and I don't see any errors, which means it's working fine. Now let's look at a few things first of all. So let me say now the thing is what to keep in mind with the accessors here. For example, if I say private, I want to create a variable, right? I'll say private var is equal to 2, something like this. Now the problem with this is because we'll never the problem with private is that anything private cannot be inherited, so which means we'll never be able to use this outside the abstract class. Okay, so anywhere, because you can't instantiate this and you can't use this private variable here. So most of the time your variables and other functions will be public or protected, because protected ones can actually be inherited. Now, there's nothing wrong with putting private here, because you can still put a function here. For example, I can put a function and say function, for example, the constructor. I'll say construct like this. Okay, so I can put a constructor here, even though I'm not actually going to instantiate this particular class here. Okay, so let's see what happens when I put a value here and just say var, something like that. and function construct. So let's see what happens here when I try to so uncaught argument count, too few arguments given. So as you have seen here, because it extends this other class, you need to actually provide this variable that you put here, because it gets the constructor of the abstract class. If, for example, I remove this and then I do an echo here, because remember, normally the constructor only runs when you instantiate the actual class. If I were to instantiate this one and I had a constructor here, only the constructor here will run. So let me try and echo something, construct something like that. Okay, so we're going to see that once we create an instance, so we are creating an instance of this one, however this constructor is running. So in this case, I can have private variables here that I can use to calculate things, and then I will inherit all those functions as well. Okay, so up to this point, it just looks like a normal class, right? Except the thing is, it's a bit different, because in this one I can declare abstract functions like this. Okay, so I'll say abstract function. Let's just make one that's called show like this. Yeah, now just echo some text like that. That's all I want to do. So this is an abstract function. Now what happens is, in a normal class you can't put an abstract function. You can, once you write one function as abstract, you must declare the whole class as abstract. So if I remove that, something like this, and then try to refresh, you see abstract function database show cannot contain body. So that's one thing as well here I forgot to mention. So an abstract class cannot have a body. So I'll explain that in a minute. So an abstract class should only be written like this, no parentheses like this, no, just like that. But even if we do this right now, we will get an error, refresh, because class database contains one abstract class, one abstract method, and therefore must be declared as an abstract class itself. So I will copy abstract here and put it here. So what do you take away from this so far? What you have to take away is that every time you declare one function as abstract inside a class, then the whole class must be declared as abstract. And then an abstract class cannot be instantiated. It can only be inherited. You can only extend it, and you cannot instantiate it personally. So an abstract class can contain a constructor, just like normal, and it can contain normal functions, no problem, because it can be like function A like this, and this will work just fine. It doesn't have to be an abstract function in here, and it can work just fine. But the last thing is that an abstract function cannot have a body like this, the way we are putting this. So you can't put any code in this function. You just declare it like function show, and that's it. So now you'll be asking yourself, what is the use of a function that has no body where you can put some code? So let's see so far if we are getting any errors, and there we are. So it says class product contains one abstract method and must therefore be declared abstract or implement the remaining methods. Okay. So the reason why it is saying this is because we have not implemented this one. So the function of an abstract method or a function like this is for anyone who wants to extend this class. We are making sure that they declare this function here. Okay, because what will happen is this: in certain cases you will not use abstract classes a lot, but you will encounter them once in a while. So it's good to know what they actually do. So what this means is you're telling whoever will want to extend your class, you're telling them that whether you like it or not, you must declare a function named show in the body of the class that you want to inherit from. Well, the one that will inherit this one. So the way things are here, I can declare several functions like here, like show1, show2, something like this. So this is all normal. But then what it means is that whichever class extends this must implement these. Otherwise, it will throw the error that we are seeing here. So what this means is that I have to go in here and declare a function called show here, and then I will have to implement it there. Okay, so I'll say echo some text like so. Okay, so abstract classes may be confusing a little bit, but once you start using them, you see the benefit of it. So the constructor actually runs, and then now we can actually call this function here and just say a something like that and say show like this. So we'll see both text construct and some text at the very end. So this is how abstract classes work. So the reason to put all this is to ensure that whoever is going to extend the class will create that function. Now, why is that important? Well, sometimes you may have some code in your system that depends on a function named show, for example, in there. So let's say you've written some code in future or in another system where show is required as a function to run because you actually reference it the way I'm referencing it right now. Now, if somebody extended their class and didn't include this function, then this code that I wrote, not the programmer that's extending this, the code that I wrote will not work with this class they have declared. So I'm just making sure that they have this function when they extend my class so that the code that I wrote will actually work with their new extended function. So this is a way to ensure that they have no choice but to create that function. Okay, so that's what abstract classes can be used for. And the final thing is that, of course, if, for example, in this function, I have some variables here like var1 and var2 like that, I can declare it like this. So I'll put all the variables that I need there. These are just to tell the one who extend this class that they need at least 2 variables there. Okay, so if I don't include them, then I'll have an error as well. So if I refresh, you will see here that it says declaration of product show must be compatible with database show, which has those variables like that. Okay, and it actually isn't. So here I will have to provide a few variables. So I'll just put 2 numbers like that just to satisfy it. Oh, can I actually I can't put literals there actually, so I have to declare it just like this, the way it is. I can use different names here like A and B, that will be fine as long as the number of variables is the same. So it's saying too few arguments, is it? But also when calling it, obviously I have to give a few variables there as well, so then everything runs smoothly. Okay, all right, so what is the takeaway from this video? The takeaway should be that if you want to create a class that doesn't need to be instantiated, then you should make it abstract. And then the beauty of an abstract function is that you can declare functions in there. Sorry, I keep saying function, but it's class. The beauty of an abstract class is that you can declare functions in there that will force whoever wants to extend your class to create as well. Those become mandatory. For example, if you have a class named fruit, for example, a fruit has color, so you will need to have at least a function named color or a property named color or something like that. So you can enforce those things, for example, on the one who extend the class. Okay, so you can put as many abstract functions as you want, or you can put none at all. It will still work. And also you can put functions that are not abstract, like this one, this construct here, and they will be inherited as normal. Even here, you won't need, the other user won't need to declare them, they can simply use them. Okay, so that's about abstract classes. So next we're going to learn about interfaces and traits. So I will see you in the next video.